that Morrowind thing.
Yeah. Oh, videos are back up, and we are doing the Cathedral, where we have to find at least 500 gold.
I'm starting to think you lied about the 10 seconds, Sam.
I made it about 10 seconds. God damn it.
It was a...
I don't know. I didn't time it perfectly. I was just like, that looks like about 10 seconds.
That feels like 10 seconds. I don't know. Life is going a little too fast for me. I don't take account anymore.
Anyway, here are those monks that carry 2 axes. Very scary. But, no, it was actually surprisingly a bitch to get all this edited, because I found out that recording through OBS, I guess through one of their updates, they made it so that way it doesn't save recording files as MP4s anymore. It saves them as, what is it, like MVKs or some shit like that? Like, basically some weird version, which apparently is to make it so it compresses a bit better, and if your stream crashes, then it still saves, like the video or whatever. The problem is that basically no editing software, or at least the editing software that I use, does not work. Like, it doesn't accept that shit. So I had to like go around and try and find ways to like recon or like convert it essentially into an MP4, and it's not even that simple, because trying to do it through VLC, it would still crash and fuck up and not accept it even as an MP4 after the conversion. So it was not a fun time. But, oh, the other thing about this mission is that the reason why I'm not juggling bodies to try and get to the 500 gold mark is because the game is smart and realizes that that's cheating. You have to find 500 gold by breaking objects or finding secrets.
This game seems, I think it would be, is very friendly to people with OCD.
Oh yeah.
Because you're compelled to destroy stuff, so if you're OCD, to destroy like crates and jars and all that stuff.
And it's especially friendly because the souls that get left behind are they disappear, and so does the gold if you don't collect it fast enough.
I prefer the approach that this game and like Legend of Zelda had, for instance. Like, you break stuff, you get some currency or whatever, instead of it being collectibles and crafting items.
Yeah. Oh no, there's the red ones, the red decanters, and I forgot to mention this as well, because everything's going so fast. The one major complaint that I do have about Painkiller, or this version of Painkiller anyway, is that regardless what difficulty you play this game on, you don't technically have full access to the game. And I'm playing on the second hardest difficulty because that is the only way to get like the most value out of the game, so to speak, or be able to play the most of it. Because what they do is that it does like that old gaming thing where if you play on like one of the lower difficulties, what it will do is that it will lock off certain levels and be like, oh, you need to be playing on the harder level to do this game, or do this level. And it's like, oh, okay, so it makes sense. So logically you would think, play on the hardest difficulty, and then you have access to all the levels. Which is true, but it locks off the last world, because technically even you get the true ending, which the game ends at World 4. But if you want to play World 5 and still have access to as much of the game, you need to be playing on the second hardest difficulty, and even then, it locks off one level.
That is one piece of old school game design philosophy that I'm glad it's dying. I hope.
A bit misguided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember there was a similar issue with the Radiant Dawn, because in the Japanese version of Radiant Dawn, the dialogue and bits of the story change according to difficulty. So to get the complete story, like the full story, you get the story with better context, with more dialogue. You had to play the game at the hardest difficulty. But when it came time for the localization, it came time to do localization in the West. I don't know if the localization didn't know about that, but they probably didn't, most likely. So they just localized the version of the game with normal difficulty. So basically, the North American version of Radiant Dawn is missing plot points because of this quirk of the Japanese version.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
The Talius games would really benefit from a remake. Like, I love Path of Radiance Death. It's one of my favorite games ever, but those games would benefit so much with a remake.
Yeah. Also, there is a slight upgrade to these Reapers. If they're wearing masks, you have to... They basically gives them a second health bar, so once you knock off their helmet, then you can kill them. And, the other reason I'm also playing on the second hardest difficulty is so that way we still have the souls mechanic of enemies dropping souls, because that's basically the main difference between the hardest difficulty and the second hardest, is that everything's the same except enemies don't drop souls on the hardest difficulty, which, if we're going to be getting all the tarot cards, which I do plan on doing, we do need to be playing on the second hardest difficulty, just because some of the conditions involve collecting X amount of souls.
I have a question.
Yo.
For you too. So, with the prerequisite that it has to be a game more than 5 years old. But what's your guys' favorite, like, single enemy type?
Single enemy type. Like just an enemy that I just enjoy fighting over and over again, kind of thing.
Either you enjoy fighting it over and over again, you like the design, you like what it look like or how it plays, or just your favorite.
An enemy type, like when you
Yes.
say an enemy type, it actually makes it quite a broad question. Because if you said like
It
a
is.
specific, like if you said a specific enemy from a certain game, from any game, like it would be easier to answer.
Well, just a quick off the top of my head answer. I would say the Iron Knuckles from The Legend of Zelda, like 3D ones anyway, not the 2D ones. The 2D Iron Knuckles can go eat a dick.
It's funny, my favorite is also from Legend of Zelda.
Oh yeah?
It's from Twilight Princess. You know the armored enemies that are usually in castles in the later part of the game? How you defeat them is you knock off parts of their armor.
Yeah,
as you
they're
knock
also
off
Iron
more-
Knuckles. I also like playing...
Yeah.
Those ones are fun too, but I prefer more of the ones from the N64, so Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, because it's one of those... I got the pattern down for them, and I can do it pretty quickly, and it's one of those things where if you fuck up, they just knock off like a quarter of your health bar.
Yep.
I do like the ones on Twilight Princess a lot because the skills you grab on the game a lot in those fights. So
Yeah,
it's
one of the only enemy types where you can use all the different like sword skills.
Yeah, it's really rewarding to use that. You guys play Devil May Cry 4?
No, I heard that it was kind of okay, I guess. I think the main thing was that you don't play as Dante, but you play as some guy who looks like Dante.
You do play as Dante, but there are some issues with the Dante section of the game. I'm gonna tell you about later. But there is a kind of game in Devil May Cry 4 that no, a kind of game, a kind of enemy that is really fun to play with. There are some knights that come in with a shield and a lance, and basically like the main way to fight them is to. I think you can knock the shield out of them, but you can also jump behind them, and like they are really fun to fight, because especially if you're fighting with Nero, because you can just you can do something like where you ram your sword into them and you just keep ramming the sword, and it's really entertaining to fight. Like those are some fun enemies. Replaying Devil May Cry 4 would not be a bad idea. The issue with the Dante section of that game is that, well, they basically didn't finish Devil May Cry 4. So they just had to repeat the levels that you... all they did for Dante is that you play the levels that Nero completed backwards.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's very much Capcom's fault, because Capcom shortened the development time. And so the developers didn't have time to create the bosses and the levels for Dante. Like a lot of the bosses that you find with on Dante's section were supposed to be new bosses. Like the weapons were supposed to be named after original bosses, but they didn't have the time to do that. So they had to basically just make you play the game all over again in reverse. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Really. But yeah, Devil May Cry 4 is not a bad game. It's just that there is this really glaring flaw, which was totally on the fault of Capcom.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's publishers that ruin the... I wouldn't say ruin games, but the damage.
Yeah, the major damage is usually done by publishers and producers doing really bad decisions.
Hey man, you gotta squeeze out all those pennies.
Yeah. I haven't played Devil May Cry 5 yet, but I did hear that Devil May Cry 5 really redeems a lot of the mistakes done by 4.
How is DMC? Because I remember people shitting their pants because they changed Dante.
It wasn't so. It wasn't, I think, so much about... Oh, sorry, Cal, you were trying to say something?
I was going to say, it's a joke. It was not a good game. It was one of the worst in the series.
You're talking about DMC Devil May Cry, right?
Yeah, DMC Devil May Cry. That's why I just said DMC, because saying DMC Devil May Cry is fucking retarded.
And that's what they named it.
I know that's what they named it. I refuse to call it that.
Well, I know. I'm agreeing with you. It's a retarded fucking name, and the fact that they named it that is just one negative against.
Yeah, but
one among many.
One of the issues wasn't so much like that they changed Dante, is that the attitude of the developer was something that upset a lot of the fans, because they let Ninja Theory develop that game, and basically, like during the whole development of DMC, the director, I think, of DMC spent time. He spent the whole development time of the game dissing the original series, saying like, "Oh yeah, Dante. If Dante appeared on a bar dressed like he is in the game, they will think he's just a gay cowboy," and so basically like talking crap about the series, and that upset a lot of the fans.
I wonder why.
Yeah. And then they make a joke, and then in DMC5 they make a joke about the whole gay cowboy thing, where like a girl gives Dante a hat as a weapon, and he starts dancing like Michael Jackson.
Anyway,
it's a fantastic moment.
And we are almost done with the world, so with that, I'll see you all next time. Have a nice night.
Bye-bye.